Welcome back to a new and improved version of Versus Debating Abridged. We got off on a rocky start, but I think that this time it'll seem better. But first of all, allow me to say a few things. Each new episode of VDA will from now on seem like a school environment. There will be 2 analysis, then a class trial, and then a closing argument. This is patterned after Danganronpa because I'm a nerd. Anyway, there aren't really any rules. Each episode is a kill or be killed scenario. The only real rule is no interference. If another character comes on without the combatant's knowledge, that character will be executed. The summons work differently, of course, as the combatant itself, or herself, himself, whatever, is summoning the summons. Obviously. Makes sense? Good. Read the title of the episode. Sub-Zero, aka CoreOfBalance, against Cirno, aka the strongest. Now, let's begin our class. Gensokyo, the home of witches, yokai, magicians, goddesses, someone named Sunny Milk, and a variety of different characters. However, today we'll be focusing on someone who is vastly more important to this series than anyone else. Cirno, the Snow Fairy. Ice Fairy, sorry. It's unknown how Cirno came to be, but she was around for at least 60 years, despite her young look, so no real origin stories aside from basically what I've already said. Anyway, Cirno is a relatively weak character out of every resident of Gensokyo, but that's because everyone in Toho is either incredibly fucking strong or so weak that they can barely lift a barely lift a boulder. Which is still strong compared to normal humans. Not to mention, Cirno is as fast as most fairies and can clock up to near hypersonic speeds, or somehow be fast enough to catch up with Marissa when she's drunk and barely even really trying in the first place. Truth be told, Cirno is a childish, confident, and more or less an idiot. I mean, her best ability is running away when she's in danger. And the fact that one of her spell cards, namely Icicle Fall, has a really obvious safe spot where a player can go without getting hurt. Speaking of spell cards, Cirno has quite a few, most of which revolve around the use of her ability to manipulate ice and cold. Her most powerful spell card being Diamond Blizzard, which combines the use of Diamond Dust and Blizzards to make an ultra-powerful blow. Not to mention she's good at creating actual objects out of ice, such as swords, machine guns, and even a sprinkler. Yeah, that thing. But despite being called an idiot by everyone from Gensokyo to IOSYS, she is still smarter than most fairies, being able to read stuff and count. I mean, not all fairies know how to read or count. Also, she was eaten by a giant toad at one point. But the biggest thing about Cirno is her ability to respawn after death. However, it's still unknown whether this ability is instant or just takes a short amount of time. But a death is still a death. So if Cirno dies to her opponent, then we know who truly is the strongest. Once upon a time, in a mysterious land known as China, Baihan decided to enter a murderous tournament with his cryomancer. After losing to Sonya Blade, he confronted Scorpion, mainly because he had a death wish. As in, a wish for Scorpion's death. But he lost. At first, Scorpion spared Baihan. But then Quan Chi decided to mindfuck Scorpion, giving him false visions of Baihan murdering his wife and son, and then murdered the fuck out of him.
Finish him. Scorpion wins. Fatality.
However, this story isn't about Baihan. This is about his brother, Kuai Liang. which I don't know why Kuai Liang doesn't have the same last name, but whatever. Eventually, Kuai figures out that Scorpion was the cause of Baihan's disappearance, and Kuai just dedicates his entire life to getting revenge on Scorpion for killing his brother. But that didn't really last long. Eventually, he beats Scorpion, but then gets kidnapped by Cyrex and Sector, and things just get even more confusing. He becomes a robot or something. Like his older brother, Kuai is able to use cryomancy, otherwise known as control over ice. This ability has helped in multiple cases throughout his hunt, leading to his defeat of Cyrax, Reptile, Sector, and Ermac. With these abilities, Kuai has a plethora of useful moves that help him in fights. He can conjure a lifelike ice statue to use as a scapegoat, a landmine that causes anyone who touches it to instantly freeze, and can transform his own body into a liquefied state. But his most notable abilities lie in his fatalities, to which he has multiple abilities that are normally used just for straight up death. Like a snowball grenade, ice shattering, spine rip, or my personal favorite, have an ice stay, in which Kuai just freezes his opponent and tears off their ass. Beautiful. But as Kuai is a feared warrior, he's still a stern, cold, younger version of Baihan. So even if he accidentally screws up once, it's all over. But even then, Sub-Zero is an excellent fighter. It just depends if he has what it takes to fight a fairy.
False bravado does not suit you.
Fight!
Yep, Cirno is still the strongest. Relatively speaking, of course. Cirno had several advantages over Sub, such as being much faster, having stronger ice magic, and being durable enough to tank anything Kuai could throw at her, or punch at her. I'll admit, the animation was a bit lacking, so my apologies on that front. However, it's almost unfair, but Cirno never had all the advantages. Mainly due to her being one of the weakest Toho characters. But then again, even she could survive being attacked by people like Reimu. However, Kuai did have one thing going for him: close quarters combat. Unlike Cirno, everything he even knows revolves around hand-to-hand. But the thing about his hand-to-hand combat knowledge is it's useless in a fight when one of the character's main tactics in battle is to run the fuck away. And given that Cirno can fly, has more powerful abilities and stuff, and is several times faster, it's really way too big of a stretch to even assume Kuai is capable of even touching Cirno in any case. So, in the end, it looks like the black end of this case is Cirno. Next time on Versus Debating Abridged!